All right, we are hopefully, let's double check this again just to be on the safe side. Again, apologies starting off this way, but unfortunately, we have had some issues over the last couple of weeks with Facebook Live. No problem with Twitch TV as far as I can see at this point, and we'll continue to monitor anything. We're just making certain that we are actually live for Facebook and just keeping an eye on what we're looking at for right now. Looking good. Let me downturn that audio there. Yes, okay, we're doing good on both Twitch and Facebook, so quiet for right now. Across the area, we're looking at downtown Chattanooga for tonight. AT&T Field, the game just wrapped up. The Lookouts did not fare so well for tonight, getting skunked on a Friday evening. Hopefully going to see the fireworks kicking off here, and we'll try to get some recordings of that going on relatively soon, so it's definitely want to stay tuned for more on that. Let's go ahead and jump right in and get things started. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. It is Friday, the last Friday of the month. By this time next week, we'll be into September. Coming to you from News 12 Wdef-Tv in downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is our exclusive video weather blog called Weather Overtime. Let me get the cameras here just for a second, making certain that everything's where it needs to be. This is our online video weather blog, enabling you to be able to see a little bit more about what's going on in and around portions of the area. Even if you're not from this location, if you're around portions of areas west, south, east, north, overseas, we are in southeastern United States, southeast Tennessee, northwest Georgia, northeast Alabama, and extreme northwestern part of North Carolina. So we're in the southeastern quarter there. Again, keeping an eye on what goes on weather-wise here. Got questions? Drop them into the comments section of Facebook Live or drop them to the stream chat function of Twitch, and we'll answer whatever questions we can out there. We're hoping to have a pretty nice weekend coming up. We'll talk more about that forecast in just a little bit and also give you an idea as to the nicer weather heading our way. Dare I say it, even cooler conditions coming up by the time we work our way into the early part of September. So we'll see how things are going there. Taking a look, let's start off with the Almanac page. We did manage another very hot day, but it did not make a record. We came within 1 degree of tying a record high temperature and tying the high temperature for the year so far. As far as I know, we have not hit 100, as if memory serves, but did manage to make it very close to that record high temperature today, last set back in 2011, and then a low temperature of 74. That's 5 degrees above the normal, 20 degrees above our last record temperature, low temperature-wise, back in the mid-50s, and that hasn't been broken since before my grandfather was born. So again, rather on the cool side then, but definitely not feeling like that now. Thank you very much to our viewer AJ Haas from Hickson, Tennessee. Captured a nice view of the Starlink satellites going past. And again, that was from about a week or so ago. The Starlink satellites are supposed to go around the Earth in their particular orbit, and they're supposed to make internet access universal across much of the area. But when they deploy, they're stacked up like boxes on a pallet being shipped, and then when they are released, they drop together and then they all spread out across the sky. So if you ever see a bunch of these lights in the sky moving in the generic, basically same direction, maybe a few points off the line right there, that's the satellites separating and heading for their particular orbit. So thank you very much, Mr. Haas, for that view from around Hickson, Tennessee. If you've got pictures, we'd love to see them. Drop them to us at pictures@wdef.com or drop them to us in the comments section of our social media pages. We also post these pictures to our social media pages, so if you would like to see them, just go ahead and head to our Facebook, X, or Instagram pages for more. Let's go ahead and get back to the action in downtown. The fireworks have begun. Post-show view of around AT&T Field, and picking up again a little bit of activity in the way of some smoke out there coming up. We can't really see a lot of that happening because of the buildings in our way, but hopefully we'll get some better views taking place here in just a little bit. Beautiful night out there. Again, a little bit on the hazy side, but otherwise not bad. seeing some temperatures out there for tonight, rather on the mild side, and going to continue to see the potential for some very hot conditions out there through the rest of the evening and into the next day or so. And then we see the nicer temperatures coming on back as we get into and around the area of next week. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm keeping it on this view for just a little bit. I'm actually recording this so that we can show this on our social media pages as part of the view. This is the Bailey's Heating and Air camera from downtown Chattanooga. Thank you very much to our sponsors for keeping us our cameras on there on the EPB Fiber Optics WeatherCam network, and you can see all of those cameras by going to wdef.com/weather if you'd like to pick up on more of that. Air quality in the area did pretty good for today. Again, not doing too bad on the numbers there, but we did manage to, again, see some nicer conditions out there when it came to the heat and the humidity, so definitely some good news on that. Pardon me for just 1 second as I save what I just recorded. Live webcast this happened, so let me get back to the action at this time. It takes a little bit for the camera to catch up, so sorry about that. There, naturally, right after I stop recording, that's when we start getting into the really great fireworks out there, and now we are stuck. So hang on a second, let me reroute for a moment while I continue to talk in front of everything going on. This is going to be, again, starting off on a hot weekend. It's going to be numbers dropping a little bit as we go into the next couple of days. It's looking very nice out there toward about the end of next week, with numbers, again, not quite as brutal as they were tonight. Friday night football starting off things on a very hot note for this evening, so we continue again to hope for some nicer conditions going into September. We also have a lot of issues going on in the tropics, and one particular storm coming up from Central America might be a situation that we have to pay attention to. That's something that we will watch very carefully in the course of the next several days. But again, for right now, no incoming systems for the entire southeastern United States as we approach the peak of hurricane season. Yesterday was actually the anniversary of the landfall of Hurricane Andrew, and on this date in 2005, Hurricane Katrina made its way across southern portions of Florida, so nice to see some of that going on there. Again, view of downtown Chattanooga as the Lookouts game wraps up for tonight with a fireworks display. Not much wind out there as you see the fireworks smoke just kind of drifting away to the east, but we are at least picking up some good views from in and around downtown for this evening. And heading out tonight, doesn't look like a major concern. Chances of rainfall are minimal, but they will be popping up again as we go into the next couple of days. So we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. All right, that'll wrap it up for the fireworks for tonight, I think, for right now. And as of the time being, wish we had, again, a nicer evening for what we've got for Friday night, at least where the temperatures are concerned out there. We'll take a look at those numbers coming up in just a little bit. Let's take our normal stroll around the area. Lee Point on the Plainview outdoor advertising camera from 153 and 64 Highway Interchange, moving along quite nicely at this time. Looking like the Island Cove Marina and Resort camera moving along well. Had some connection issues last night, but looking to the northwest where a beautiful sunset was just a few hours ago. Downtown, again, from the News 12 studios, looking at the north slope of Lookout Mountain, and very quiet there. Also a good sunset shot from earlier. We'll try to get a time-lapse posted in just a little bit. CHI Memorial Stadium camera, the backup traffic jam from 75 north to 24 west has dissipated, and it looks like things are moving along quite nicely at this time. And from our brand new camera overlooking the river downtown, the Total Speedies Car Care Chattanooga Theater Center webcam, and again, all these available on our website from the EPB Fiber Optics WeatherCam network. Tennessee River, a few light ripples there from the downtown buildings, looking back toward the aquarium area and showing again some pretty nice conditions out there for tonight. Temperatures, again, on the very warm side, back into the mid 80s or so. as we see some very sultry conditions. The dew point at this time, clear skies for the most part, and then the dew point way up into the mid-70s. Again, we've explained this before, but we would prefer to do dew point over the humidity because it's an easier way to see a little bit better about how saturated the atmosphere is. These are just the air temperatures. It's still close to 90 degrees in Scottsboro right before we hit 10 o'clock. And again, this is just the temperature of the air, not taking into account any moisture. If you saturated the atmosphere, you would get what's called the dew point temperature down to these numbers. If the temperature dropped to 72 right now, air temperature-wise, and the dew point was 72, that would be 100% maxed out. The atmosphere can't hold any more humidity. Right now, temperature in the mid-80s and the dew point temperature in the lower to mid-70s. Dew point of almost 80 degrees in Cleveland. That's pretty uncomfortable right there. And the numbers, again, very much on the humid side, and that makes it harder for the sweat to evaporate off your body and cool you down. So with numbers like this and air temperatures like I just showed you, it's very much on the oppressive side for right now. Sultry, muggy, humid, whatever you want to call it. At some point in time, it's pretty doggone uncomfortable, and that's what we have for the time being. Temperature did make it to 100 degrees around the Mid-South area earlier today, but things cooling off quite nicely back in the 70s and 80s, back to the north of Chattanooga for this evening. Looks like, if I'm not mistaken, yes, the heat advisory has been removed from southeast Tennessee, still in effect for areas around northwest Georgia and northeastern portions of Alabama. That's in effect until Saturday at 7 Central and 8 o'clock Eastern time zones there. So if you are in areas south of Chattanooga or west, that's where the heat is going to be the worst. So not seeing anything in the way of a excessive heat warning for the counties that are shaded in pink from just south of Chicago down to the Gulf Coast. The counties there that you see in the pink colors, that's the hottest of the hot, and that's where we could be looking at some life-threatening heat, where heat index temperatures in the orange right up to about 105. That's pretty terrible right there. But then here we're looking at heat index temperatures 105 to 110 plus. So this is going to be the really hot conditions here, but we have some relief in store. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. The Food City certified Angus beef on the grill cast for again tonight. It was a little sultry there. Temperatures not quite as bad as we go into the weekend, but there will be more chances of showers and thunderstorms out there for Saturday and Sunday evenings, and one of Andrew Harrison, my co-anchor's favorite terms of thunder weenies on the grill. So we do have, again, the chances for some thunderstorms out across the area. So if you're grilling outside, be able to get to some protection if there is some lightning in and around the area here. Jeff Peterson, good evening. Thank you very much. The Crew 7 launch was scrubbed until late tonight, Saturday morning. I was going to tune in for that, but unfortunately had other things to concentrate on at the time, and I heard rumors beforehand that they were thinking about it, but I didn't know that they had actually scrubbed it, so thank you very much for that. 2.4 earthquake around Dunlap. That's a depth of 6 miles. Okay, I did not know we had that on there. I'll have to pay better attention to the seismic activity around the area. So thank you very much for that one. And like Mr. Peterson, dropping things into the comments section. If you got anything to say, any weather information you'd like to pass along, we'd love to hear of it. So just drop it into the comments section, and we'll let you know more about what we're looking for, or what you are looking at the time, I should say. Here's where our new batch of air comes in. It's kind of sauntering its way across the Canadian border and heading our direction over the Great Lakes. It's going to be affecting us as it kind of turns the corner around the Great Lakes, but unfortunately, it's got a pretty stiff area of high pressure to deal with from the Rio Grande basically all the way to the East Coast. Not exactly looking at record-breaking blocking activity, but we are seeing this keeping the hot, humid air in place. So this is going to have a pretty decent amount of shove to get all this high pressure out of the picture. And hopefully that's the case, because we could use some relief after the week that we've seen. Now into tomorrow morning, very early running the numbers, temperatures back in the mid 70s for lows, not all that low out there. A hot Saturday coming up, upper 90s once again, and then back into Atlanta, northern Georgia, northern Alabama could be pushing some triple digits in some areas. We also, let me run that back just a little bit, we could see again the potential of some scattered showers and thunderstorms popping up. Doesn't look like any severe weather. We'll take a look at that coming up here in just a little bit. Sunday morning, mild back in the upper 60s to lower 70s, and then we see some thunderstorms north of us. As those collapse and give out in Middle Tennessee, those could start an impulse of energy going forward in the atmosphere, and we could see some more regeneration out of this. If we get enough sunshine before the clouds off the tops of those thunderstorms spread our direction, we could be back in the mid-90s again for Sunday. But that forecast allows for a lot of sunshine coming on through. It's a good possibility we'll see more showers and thunderstorms kind of blocking out the sunshine, and that means our temperatures may not be quite as hot into the weekend, but that means more chances of showers and thunderstorms out across the area. And then getting into early Monday morning, we are back into the lower 70s, maybe a few upper 60s as the kids head off to school. Between Chattanooga and Atlanta, could be some leftover showers and thunderstorms there, but so far, again, does not look to be a major concern. 6 to 10 day forecast from the Climate Prediction Center is still showing a more normal pattern heading into the area and giving us a bit of a snap in the temperatures coming through. The really hot stuff gets pushed back mainly to the west of the Mississippi River, much cooler back to the northeast of us, but right there in that slot of more normal conditions, that's where we see again some good amounts of less oppressive amounts of heat out there. Taking a look at our supercast going forward to about 10 days out through the weekend, again, the really hot activity in the orange and the red, but then we start to see this error start to filter in through next week. It's not going to be an Arctic blast, but it is going to be just enough to push all that heat well back off to our west and keep it out that direction. So we do have the potential, again, of those less incredibly hot temperatures out there, close to record highs, coming our direction anytime soon. So definitely some good news, better than what we have seen in quite some time. All right, heading into the new month, temperatures tomorrow, upper 90s, lower 90s. That's kind of optimistic, but that's what I'm staying with for right now as we see that potential of some thunderstorms and clouds blocking out the sunshine. So hopefully we'll wind up on this side of the 90s instead of this side by the time we head into around Sunday or so. The rest of the forecast, again, chances of showers and thunderstorms from Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and then better potential coming up into around Monday and Tuesday. After that, we start to really drop the numbers. This looks excellent here toward about Friday morning. Numbers back in the lower 60s. That will be absolutely excellent if that pans out. But again, that's about 7 days away. So right now we need to kind of take this side of the forecast with just a bit of a grain of salt just to see what's going on the opposite side of things here as we get toward the end of September and into end of August into early September. That's where we'll see the nicer temperatures. Now, will we heat up after this? We still have 3.5 more weeks of summertime to go through, so yeah, that's absolutely possible. And last fall, when we got into autumn, enjoyed the temperatures here. It was warm, but it wasn't overly powerfully hot. And I have seen some hot weather for autumn over back in Memphis many times. I remember the Halloween of, I believe it was 2010, with my kids out trick-or-treating in 85-degree weather after the sun went down and about 95% humidity. So it was a rather sweaty Halloween out there. Hopefully we won't go through anything like that again. But as we go toward the holiday weekend coming up, Labor Day, on the other side of this, toward the next Monday, that looks, so far it looks okay for right now, but there are some signs that we may pick up again some more showers and thunderstorms. But for the time being, it looks like for Monday, Sunday into Monday looks good. Temperatures pretty much on the mild side on the extended forecast. So far so good out there, I think, throughout the area for Labor Day. So that looks pretty good if that holds. Stay tuned and we'll keep you updated on what we're going to be looking for there. All right, let's dive into the tropics. We could do our own podcast on just this alone, given how things have really increased out there. A number of different storms taking place across the area. We'll take a look at Invest 93L here, especially in just a little bit. We have Invest 92L, which again, an impulse off of Africa. Winds 25 miles per hour. It's not doing too great at this time. What's left of Emily is still wandering portions of the North Atlantic, and it's still holding on. Winds of 35 miles an hour, just below tropical storm status. What's left of Gert wandering around areas close to the Leeward Islands, north of South America, and this, again, not expected really to be too much of anything here immediately. Taking a look at Franklin first, which is just to the north of Hispaniola, and that, again, right around Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Crossed the island a couple of days ago and is now kind of sauntering its way through the eastern Caribbean, but it's not really doing too much. In the next couple of days, we will see this storm mainly take a northerly course, and this could brush by Bermuda in the next couple of days, so this could be a bit of an issue for anybody heading to the Bahamas or down to the Caribbean for right now. But most of this is heading up into the western Atlantic. Does not appear to be a threat to the eastern United States. If that changes, we will let you know, so keep it tuned for more on that. Back into the Pacific real quickly. The storm that is wandering through the eastern Pacific west of Mexico. A few days ago, this thing was primed and ready to go. 70-80% chance of development like this storm is back to the west of that current storm. Again, this one looks like it's going to be hugging the coast. The waters of the Pacific are very warm right here. Whether or not it looks like it's losing a lot of its steam. So for right now, it does not look like this is going to be a major threat or to follow in last week Hurricane Hilary's footsteps. So some good news on that for now, but I think both of these bear watching as they head up to the north. So Southern California, we could be looking at a new situation there. Now, a little bit closer to home, it doesn't look like much right now. It is kind of disorganized. We're looking at Invest, or again, area of investigation, so to speak. And believe me, I hate making the quotation marks. This, again, is just a storm in the Bay of Campeche, or heading toward that general area in the western Caribbean. And it looks like it's going to be making its way across the Yucatan Peninsula up toward that area of the bay, coming up a little bit later on. Putting the spaghetti models into motion, the main area of these storm models are seeming to take this relatively due north, and so far it does not appear to be anything in the way of a major threat. But keep in mind that the waters of the Gulf are as warm as a bathtub or a hot tub or a jacuzzi. For the people out there that kibitzed about my calling it a bathtub when it was more like a hot tub, semantics, it's very unnaturally warm waters. That's the point I'm trying to drive across here, as opposed to what we can use in the way of adjectives at this time. This is very hot water, and that's rocket fuel for these storms. So whatever euphemism you want to use for how warm this water is, it's very warm, it's unnaturally warm, climate change causing that, and this storm system, as it goes north, this is where we could be seeing a bit of a problem into next week. Now again, some of the models aiming it toward western Cuba, some of them aiming it into the center part of the Gulf. So we're kind of spread out here, which means they're not in agreement, which means anything can happen at this point. But generally, it's going northward, and that is where we could be looking at the potential for some more problems coming up into the next several days. So especially for the northern Gulf. So anything between, I would say, Corpus Christi to the Keys. Watch this if you're traveling that direction. My wife's relatives down in Sarasota, Florida, I would watch this storm with a lot of interest, especially as it gets closer to that very warm water around the Gulf Loop area that runs between the Keys and Cuba. This is where we could see rapid intensification taking place, and I would really be very interested to watch and see what this thing does. So if you're traveling, keep an eye to News 12. We'll keep you updated on what we may be seeing at this time. So again, this will be the best potential of anything close by. Now, if this continues, and this is a big if at this point, if this goes straight on up to the north and intensifies and keeps on going that direction, yes, that could affect our weather here in the Tennessee River Valley, not as a hurricane. I want to get that understood right now. Once the storms hit land, they lose about 50% of their power because they get cut off from their energy supply, which is the ocean surface. And this has got a lot of energy out there, down to about 130 feet. If I recall correctly from meteorologist Jeff Baradelli, very great forecaster and a great knowledgeable source on climate change, showing the depth of that water, over 100 feet worth of very warm water, and that is what this storm could draw upon. Now, possibly, we could see this system again going this particular direction and maybe heading up this way, but again, some of these models taking it over to the western Gulf, some aiming it toward Miami. So in general, it's estimated, I would say it's going to be going anywhere between New Orleans and say Sarasota, that around Tampa, St. Pete. That's going to be the main thing we take a look at there. Now, this storm is, again, well away, about half 1,000 miles away from the Gulf Coast and just about over 1,000 miles away from us. So it's got a long way to go before anything happens, and things could change off of this. So keep it tuned to News 12, and we'll keep you updated what happens with Tropical Wave Invest, or Area of Investigation 93L. Lot can change there. This is the time of season to keep an eye on what's going on. Historically, this is an interesting time frame because today, again, was when Katrina rolled over Florida in 2005. And in a couple of days' time, it's going to be about the anniversary of the development of what is called the Galveston storm, or the 1900 storm. It began somewhere out in the western Atlantic. Again, record-keeping time, estimating through historical records where the storm went through particular locations. If you'd like a good book to read on that, Eric Larson has a great work that he did called Isaac's Storm. I'll be referencing that in the next few days as we approach the 23rd anniversary of the 1900 storms. That's one of the worst natural disaster in American history, and a great study about why we have the warnings and the forecasts and the technology that we do today, so we can see storms like this coming days away instead of minutes or hours away. This is a really important date when it comes to that, and we'll be talking a lot about that in the course of the next several days, so definitely want to stay tuned there. All right, that'll wrap it up pretty much again for tonight. One more call out there for our teachers and administrators. If you'd like to have our weather experts come visit your classroom, great, no problem. Let us know at the Food City Weather in the Classroom program. But once again, please get those requests in as early as possible, because this is the time of year where those requests will fill up quite quickly and we start losing the ability to schedule things out until the spring semester. So if you would like us to be there between now and Thanksgiving, Christmas, that's great, but you make the request early or we may be seeing you after the new year in 2024. We can talk about emergency communications, we can talk about climate change, we can talk about all sorts of reason and ways that science is cool. We have a great opportunity to present your kids a lot of great stuff. Again, please let us know the grade level and the subject matter you'd like us to talk about. Our presentation for kindergarten and first grade is much different than our presentation for high school. So let us know who we're going to be presenting to, any specific terms you would like for your glossary for us to touch on there. Just please let us know what you would like, and we'll do our best to cross-connect on that as we go into the rest of the fall semester out there. All right, just past 10:15 Eastern Time. We are going to be on a little late tonight. The NFL having one of their games on CBS, and we are covering that, so we will probably be on the late edition of News 12 at 11. So stay tuned for more there. And, of course, we'll have more throughout the weekend at WDEF.com/weather. Meteorologist Todd Heislip will have your forecast Saturday and Sunday night at 11. I'll be back on the morning show as Chip Chapman has some obligations Monday and Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. Again, not looking at severe weather for the most part right now, but we'll keep our eye on that throughout the rest of the weekend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. This has been the Friday night edition of Weather Overtime from News 12 WDEF in downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee, southeastern United States, for those of you tuning in from abroad. Thank you very much to everybody who joined us tonight on Twitch TV or Facebook Live. Hope you have a cool and a safe weekend coming up. And again, stay tuned for Todd's forecast over the weekend, and I'll see you bright and early on Monday morning. Thanks for joining us. Have a safe and cool weekend.